Hey everybody, welcome to episode 96 of the Is That Normal podcast, and today we're going to talk about church camp.
Yeah, well, yes, sort of. So when this episode airs, we'll have just gotten back that weekend prior from CIY Move Conference, which is is what we do for our week of camp. We've been doing it for a long time for our high schoolers, and we just added that for our middle schoolers this summer. And so that's what's going to be going on.
Yeah, so we've been partnering with CIY for over 20 years now, and CIY stands for Christ in Youth, is the organization that puts on what the high school version is called Move, and then as you mentioned, we just took our middle schoolers for the first time to the middle school version, which is called Mix. And man, CIY is just one of those things that I've had people, when I tell them, every year I go spend a week with a bunch of high schoolers at camp, and people are like, wow, what a sacrifice. And I'm like, no, that's like one of the things I look forward to all year. It really is an amazing time, not just because it's fun, but we get to interact with students and just to get to see the lives that have been changed and impacted over the years, and see students get to make decisions and now having done this for so many years, not only to get to see students make those decisions, but then get to see in the years following how those decisions impacted the course of their life.
Absolutely. And yeah, we love CIY, and one of probably the core things, as we've spent a lot of time with them and learned their leaders, and is that we know that this organization, their heartbeat, their pulse, the mission and vision all the way to the top, is that they love youth and youth ministers and the people that influence kids, and they're going to spend all year putting you up to bat so that you can hit a home run. They just love doing that. They don't do this for any other reason than they want to see the next generation impacted. And so, they just do a great job. It's really not a camp. I call it a conference. They host it on college campuses, which I've always thought help kids think to a next level. It's kind of a little bit higher expectation there. And and they just do this great job of challenging students to seek and serve Christ in His church in a language they understand. And I've just never seen anybody do it better. And actually, as I've transitioned this year into lead pastor, that was one of my stipulations but I still have to go to CIY with the kids every summer. So I'm excited that I get to do that.
And you kind of alluded to it. One of the things that's amazing about CIY is their goal is not just to make this single mountaintop experience for students in the middle of the summer, which it is and can be that. Their real heartbeat is to create a kind of a starting point that helps then for what happens when they come home from CIY, and to set us as leaders up to continue that momentum that they have when they come home, which is incredible, and I think one of the reasons it's been so successful over the years. So we thought today it would be fun to get some ground perspective from ourselves and some of our other adults on why CIY is so great.
Hey, welcome to the Is That Normal podcast. Randall and I are on location at CIY Move here at the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg, and we're getting ready for our last night of CIY Move here. We've had a great week with our kids. They're over here somewhere. We've kept track of most of them. There's some of our other leaders. I think there's some more kids maybe over that way. We've been here with over 800 other students from around the country. There's a group here from all the way from Florida that drove in to be with us, and this has been a great week. But we just want to take a few minutes and let some of our leaders that have been with us. We've got this great volunteer leader team back here. Woo! And we just wanted to talk a little bit about why we love CIY. So we're going to go over here and check in with them.
Okay, we're going to start with Tyler Boggs. How many years have you been to CIY, including as a student?
So I came, 5 years as a student, and this is probably my 9th or 10th year as a adult leader.
Shannon, how many times have you been to CIY?
2 years as a student. I took an 11-year hiatus to raise 6 children. And I got to do double duty this year. I got to go to the middle school mix and the high school move this summer.
And we're gonna go to Tiffany. This is Tiffany's first CIY, right?
Yes, very first.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right, so Tiffany, what has stood out to you this week about CIY?
The amount of youth that are excited about Christ and seeking Him and the worship services, and they're just like a rock concert for Jesus.
Yes.
And Tiffany knows about rock concerts.
That's right.
She does.
She may have had to join us late because
Late
of
for a rock concert,
another
you
rock
know?
concert.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
That was.
Awesome. So I'll open this up to any of you. How do you feel like CIY helps students interact with the Bible?
I think the biggest thing that they do, besides just teaching from the stage, is they really put an emphasis on giving students a time every day to just kind of stop and pause and be quiet and listen to God. And I think that's something that a lot of young people and even adults fail to do is we fill our calendars, we fill our time with things that keep us busy, and sometimes those are good things even, but taking that time to just stop and pause and listen for what God has to say.
So I'll again open this up to any of you. How does CIY help students understand who Jesus is better?
I think CIY does a really great job of leaving space and helping kids engage in different kinds of worship, including prayer and singing, and really just time to reflect. It's a very guided emphasis, and in our busy world, we don't really slow down and listen, and CIY does a great job giving kids that space.
So for parents, what do you think the students are gonna come home with this week from camp?
Ringworm. No.
Cut.
No. I'm just kidding. We had a
Take
discussion.
two.
We had a discussion in my group about ringworm.
What do you expect students are gonna come away with this week from CIY? Besides a lot of dirty laundry.
I think one of the things a lot of the students are usually excited about, every year they do Kingdom Worker Cards, which is a challenge that students are given the option to participate in by, they choose a card and they're selected at random basically. And so the student has the choice whether they open that card or not, but if they open the card, they understand that they're committing to do whatever's on the card. And sometimes that's just a one-time simple thing like writing somebody a note, and then other times it might be like raising money or going on a mission trip, or having prayer at school every week or something like that. So I think our students are usually really excited about being given a challenge to continue their faith beyond camp.
So the one question we didn't answer yet was standout memories from CIY, and I'm gonna take that one because we've had some ridiculous things that are unforgettable. Some we probably can't say on camera, like just crazy teenagers stuff, but we've had some great memories. But the coolest thing about CIY in all of the years of going to me is just I can think back to specific CIYs where students made decisions that literally changed the course of their lives, and there are students today that are now adults that are in positions of ministry and doing just amazing things because of things that happened at CIY, and it changed the trajectory of their life, and they gave their life over to Christ and His calling. And so it's just really, really cool to think about each year to get to see these decisions students make and try to guess and see where God's going to take them and what He's going to do with their life. So
one of the really cool things about this week at CIY Move is that 5 people from my family, including myself, were here, and 2 of those are my oldest 2 children, Ethan and Shiloh, and they came this year as adult leaders, and just done a fantastic job. Great job leading kids, keeping them safe, leaning in and helping kids grow. And so thankful that they're here with us, and we're going to let them just share with parents a little bit of some of the things that you can expect, and maybe some things you can engage your kids with when they get home from CIY Move. Okay, I'm ready.
Bree really wants to
I'm
be
Bree.
in
Bree's
the
it. Hey,
podcast. The
Bree,
podcast?
Yeah, we're recording our podcast, and hey, you can be in it if you want.
Do you
so,
want to?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Hello, this is Shiloh. I'm Bree. No, I'm talking about myself. Shiloh
This is gonna be
here.
the best podcast ever.
Shiloh here. Sorry. This is my good friend Bree. We met this past semester at a college class at MSU, and she invited me into her church group. But one thing that we really bonded over was that the fact that we found out that we were both going to be at the same CIY leading students. So Bree and her trusty sidekick, Zach. There he is. They've joined us this week, and they have sat with us in the leader meetings, and we really have got to know each other better and talk about our crazy kids and those experiences. Craziest.
So Bree, our podcast, Randall and I do a podcast every other week that just is encouraging parents how to raise their teens and young adults for Christ. And so this one is going to highlight kind of CIY and why we love CIY. So Randall's going to pick a question to ask you about what you love about CIY. So,
Okay. So what is your favorite CIY moment so far this week?
Oh gosh, my favorite moment, honestly, I love how deep CIY gets, just emotionally. They know how to target kids' issues that they're working through, and even if it they do such a good job at making it broad enough to where it fits into every student's life, because every one of our students all shared something so deep after we would have these really deep and meaningful talks at night. And they do such a good job at making it so broad but so specific at the same time. And they just connect so much better that way. They're not just here learning about Jesus, but they're learning about one another, and they're growing and they're bonding, and it's just such a beautiful thing to see, because that's growth as a Christian. You can't grow as well in your faith if you don't have a community that surrounds you. So
hey, thank you, Bree.
Yeah.
Man, thanks for being a part tonight. So, all right. So Randall's going to ask these guys some questions about parents here. Okay. So we'll see you guys in there.
Adios.
See you guys.
Okay, so Shiloh, Ethan, I'll let you decide who wants to answer this, but tell us about some of the repeated themes for the week with CIY that they've been talking about with students.
One theme that I have really noticed over several of the sessions is that it's forgiveness, and that's been particularly impactful on me and Randall's small group. Even before, because I think it was Thursday night, they really leaned in on forgiveness, but even that night before they did, we had kids asking questions about how to forgive people and that process, and it was really cool to see, because then the very next night they really dissected that and talked about forgiving people who maybe don't deserve it, and how to do that as a Christian and how to let that go.
So Ethan, what are some of the questions that maybe students may have going home?
Yeah, I think a lot of times kids kind of have this super emotional high when they get back from the camp, and I think they wonder kind of what's next, and oftentimes what they're going to do with that, with all the change that they've kind of experienced throughout the week. So I think a lot of kids are going to be wondering what the next step is, how they're going to continue this excitement they've had and these connections they've made with other kids. And a really cool thing is CIY has these Kingdom Worker cards, and it's kind of something that they can work on until the kind of a next event and over the course of the school year. So I think a really good thing to wrestle with is kind of what their kingdom work is going to be outside of the camp. And yeah,
that's good. So Shiloh, I'm going to ask you, what are some of the challenges that students are going to have when they get home?
One thing that I noticed particularly, like from my own experience, because I went to CIY as a student, is you do like kind of feel like you're on this Jesus high, and it's really just because you're in that habit of like every single day, like twice a day, you go to 2 sermons a day, and you are constantly like being told like biblical content. So when you go away from that, it's harder to like remember to think about those things and to be asking the right questions because it's not constantly surrounding you. And so yeah.
So Ethan, what are some of the like maybe specific decisions that parents should ask their kids about when they get home, that like the types of decisions that maybe have been made here at camp?
Yeah. Like I said about the Kingdom Worker cards, there's this very specific thing that the kids get sent home with. I think asking them kind of to go through kind of the logistics of that and how they're going to carry that out day to day. I think also kind of having a game plan to continue the relationship with God afterwards and not let the excitement, kind of die off. I think they'll also be questioning kind of their own relationship with God and kind of what that's going to look like. Yeah.
And then one last question, Shiloh. What does God's kingdom mean, and how should we be workers in it?
Wow, this one's like a scratcher. I mean, God's kingdom it's huge. It's his people. It's the people who have decided to set apart from earthly things and live their life serving him. What was the second part of the question?
How should we be workers in God's kingdom? So king they talk a lot about kingdom work.
Yeah, how should
being
we be
kingdom
workers?
workers? So maybe explain what that means specifically.
A kingdom worker? A kingdom worker, it's someone who has decided to dedicate their life to serving God and serving others. And how we should do that is, we sacrifice a lot. Like, we'll have to sacrifice our time and maybe even our own wants so that we can serve others for the glory of God.
Awesome. Give me a thumbs up, guys. Yeah, all right. Randall, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah. So hey guys, I hope this was like maybe just a tiny glimpse into our week at CIY. I can't wait for your students to get home and actually have some conversations, and just be prepared to ask them some questions and give them some opportunity to share what God did in their life, because that's a huge step when we get home is what do we do next? Just like Ethan shared, what's our next step? And so ask some specific questions. One of the things tonight that I know that CIY always does, the very last night, is they're going to ask for students to stand up if they've made commitments for following Jesus for the first time, for rededicating their lives to Christ if they've maybe gone astray a little bit, and then also for students that have felt called into full-time vocational ministry, and then also for students who are committing to a life of kingdom work. And I know we have lots of students that fall into especially the vocational ministry and kingdom work buckets of those things. So ask your students about those when they get home. And then the other two takeaways is just to check out some more information about CIY. You can kind of find out what they're all about at CIY.com. And then, like we kind of already covered, have some conversations with your kids this week. So thanks for joining us from camp, guys.
1, 2, 3. Be abnormal.